Today on Newsgirls, post-tariffs mayhem. Guess when Trump said it was Liberation Day, he meant people will be liberated from their money.
So the Department of Homeland Security has just started a $200 million anti-immigrant ad campaign.
AI is getting weird. The White House even got in on the action, posted a Ghibli-style image of ICE arresting a sobbing woman.
Tinder AI characters use GPT-4o to actually help you flirt better.
And Astrology's crazy 2025 prediction.
It's like very big, kind of game-changing year.
So to have all three of the slower moving planets change signs is massive.
What would you say to skeptics who say, like, astrology isn't real, it's made up?
Welcome to Newsgirls.
I'm Wren.
And I'm Mabel.
Let's get into the stories. It's been a chaotic week, lots of outrage and confusion since President Trump announced his massive tariffs, and that was really on display last weekend when millions took to the streets around the world in hands-off protests. There were 1,400 protests in all 50 states, plus every major European city too.
Which makes sense since these drastic tariffs will impact literally everyone all around the world. But before we get into that, let's get into all the crazy political news that you might have missed. You've probably heard the name Laura Loomer popping up a lot this past week. She's a right-wing personality known for her really controversial, even racist posts that have gotten her banned off social media.
I mean, what's racist about saying if Kamala won, the White House would smell like curry and operate via call center?
So Loomer has no position in the Trump administration, but last week she was in the Oval Office with Trump, Vance, and Waltz presenting research findings about disloyal members in the White House. And 24 hours after this meeting, 6 national security members were fired.
Widespread reporting has confirmed Trump indeed fired these advisors because of Loomer's suggestions, and Loomer herself even tweeted taking credit for it. But for some reason, Trump denies he listened to her and said he made the decision himself.
Yeah, he's been trying to keep his distance from her for a while, and it's clear why. She's known for staging protests where she's like handcuffed herself to Twitter offices after she was banned, jumped a fence outside Nancy Pelosi's house, has tweeted to deport all jihadis, and even threatened a senator on X saying, "I've stumbled across your daughter and I'm going to show you everything I've found."
So Trump is literally firing people and taking the recommendations of the person who tweeted, "Hey, you stupid brain dead lying Kamala Harris, do you understand you're a stupid?" She traveled with Trump during the campaign, and he's called her a very good patriot and very strong person.
Okay. I mean, experts are also saying that this recent Oval Office meeting recalls Trump's first term, where like fringe supporters and unofficial advisors somehow bypassed official channels, gained access to the White House, and made all of these policy decisions. So we'll see what else Loomer influences, because Trump clearly likes her. And she's now going on this like campaign saying that there's a vetting crisis, implying Trump's team is subverting his America First agenda.
So this past Saturday morning, I was just at home drinking coffee, watching Good Morning America, when suddenly I heard this threatening voice.
President Trump has a clear message for those that are in our country illegally. Leave now. If you don't, we will find you and we will deport you. You will never return. If you leave now, you may have an opportunity to return and enjoy our freedom and live the American dream. But understand this. Under President Trump, America's borders are closed to lawbreakers. Follow the law, and you'll find opportunity. Break it, and you'll find consequences.
So that was alarming to hear on my lazy weekend.
Yes. So the Department of Homeland Security has just started a $200 million anti-immigrant ad campaign. So the one that you just heard was the domestic version, but there's also an international version saying if you're considering entering America illegally, don't even think about it. If you come to our country, we will hunt you down.
And I saw it on TV, but apparently the ads are also running on radio, social media, and text message. Like, they're just texting the ad to people. And apparently it's airing in multiple countries and regions in various dialects.
Like they're just dubbing Kristi Noem over in Spanish. Like, okay.
Well, unsurprisingly, there's been a lot of outrage questioning this use of taxpayer funds, and critics even call the ad Trump propaganda.
The FBI recently created a task force to crack down on violent Tesla attacks, which is just like random for the government to get involved in this. But there have been 48 incidents just this month. I wonder what the message behind these attacks were.
So the task force will work in collaboration with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And Attorney General Pam Bondi described the Tesla attacks as domestic terrorism and said that the perpetrators will face up to 5 years in prison.
And a majority of these attacks had people throwing like Molotov cocktails at Tesla properties, which are like bottles that have flammable liquid in them. And so the Justice Department got involved and announced it will specifically charge people who throw these.
In response, Elon has said Tesla just makes electric cars and has done nothing to deserve these evil attacks. And Trump basically suggested that the vandalism was paid for by people very highly political on the left.
It's interesting that there's like a whole task force for this. When on Trump's first day in office, he pardoned hundreds of J6ers that were charged with actual domestic terrorism, but I guess attacking Teslas is somehow worse.
The U.S. stock market suffered its biggest two-day drop ever on Thursday and Friday, with investors losing $6.6 trillion. So I guess when Trump said it was Liberation Day, he meant people will be liberated from their money.
So basically now there's a 10% baseline tax on all imports to the U.S.
After Trump announced a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs, except for his 125% tax on China, the pause caused the best stock market day in years, but the uncertainty and looming tariffs are still causing damage.
And the last time U.S. tariffs were this high was during the Great Depression, and historians blame the tariffs then for making the Depression way worse and actually leading to World War II because it weakened the world economy so much that extremist ideologies flourished in Europe, and thus World War II began. So it's worrisome now to see the collapse in markets around the world.
And these tariffs really affect Asia in a unique way because exports have always served as like a pathway to prosperity for developing Asian countries. So like even Taiwan and Japan are doing so well now because they followed that model. So this really darkens the hopes of poorer Asian countries like Cambodia and Bangladesh.
And countries are already starting to retaliate with tariffs of their own. China accused America of unilateral bullying, and France suggested taxing U.S. tech giants.
And it's not just other countries, like these tariffs are bad when Trump's own supporters at home are criticizing him.
Yeah, last week 4 Senate Republicans joined the Democrats to pass a resolution to block Trump's tariffs on Canada. And Ben Shapiro even posted a video calling these tariffs crazy and unconstitutional.
President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day. His giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. Trade wars are, in fact, not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan. It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works, a fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits.
It's been so shocking to see these like far-right influencers actually turn on Trump. Like, did you see white supremacist, nationalist, misogynistic commentator Nick Fuentes say that liberals were actually right about Trump?
As much as I hate to admit it, liberals were right fundamentally about Trump. Whether he has good intentions or bad intentions, whether he means well or not, in effect, what he is a demagogue. What he is a populist demagogue.
So a few weeks ago, Trump Truth Socialed a scathing review of his presidential portrait in the Colorado State Capitol. So he starts off saying nobody likes a bad picture or painting of themselves. So relatable.
I hate bad paintings of myself.
But the one in Colorado was purposefully distorted to a level that even I perhaps have never seen before.
And he said, the artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful. But the one on me is truly the worst.
He then says, she, the artist, must have lost her talent as she got older. Like he's just taking jabs at everyone.
Well, the Newsgirls, along with many major publications, were emailed the artist's first statement since Trump's criticism. So she said she completed the portrait accurately without purposeful distortion or political bias, and that Trump's words are directly and negatively impacting her business of over 41 years, which is now in danger of not recovering.
It's so random of him to like bring up this issue after the portrait was hanging there for 6 years.
Yeah, and if you look at the reference photos she based it on, like, it's literally spot on. House Republicans are considering selling federal lands around western cities and national parks to help pay for Trump's tax cut extension. So this is a line politicians usually don't cross because these federal lands are vital to rural communities.
But the House Natural Resources Chair said that they're reviewing the concept, which unfortunately isn't that surprising because the House rules package that was adopted in January that we actually covered on Newsgirls waived requirements needed to sell public lands. So they basically opened the door to this possibility.
As of now, any sale of federal land seems unlikely because 2 Montana Republicans have already said they'd oppose it, and one even introduced a legislation to ban the sale of public lands. But the fact that it's being floated by some Republicans just proves how intent they are on trying to pass Trump's agenda.
Which makes sense. Like, this is a lot of land that we're talking about. So the federal government actually owns about 650 million acres, or 30% of land in the USA, a majority of which is in the West. AP has just reported that the US government has banned American government personnel in China from having any romantic or sexual relations with Chinese citizens.
This is pretty much unheard of since the Cold War, like to actually ban any fraternization, since it is common for American diplomats to date locals and even marry them, which makes sense. It's their home city now too.
And the reasoning behind this ban is interesting. So the US is alleging that Beijing is using honeypots, or like attractive government agents, to seduce American diplomats to get government secrets. And Americans with pre-existing relationships can apply for exemptions, but if they're denied, they have to end the relationship or like quit their job.
Well, I'm sure this only adds to the tension between Beijing and Washington right now. Not that Trump really cares about that, since he's waged an economic war on literally every single country in the world.
Well, don't worry, not Russia or North Korea. So last week, Tinder actually popped to the top of App Store charts after introducing this new flirt feature where AI characters use GPT-4o to actually help you flirt better.
You can win points for being charming or playful, but you lose points for being cheeky or quirky. I guess that's bad.
We're actually going to test it here on Newsgirls. Okay, so we just got an AI character named Jonathan. He's 28 from Thailand.
We are at a busy Bangkok street food stand.
The difficulty level of this is hard. So, okay.
I don't like this.
Ah, Yin's got the last piece, huh? That's lucky. That treat's my favorite. Yins have good taste. So what brings Yins to this part of the city? Planning to try more of the local flavors?
Exactly. We really love when we travel to try all the local cuisines. So this was top of our list. We're so excited to try it.
That's awesome. Bangkok's got some incredible food. Anything else from the list you're eagerly waiting to try?
Totally. Would you be willing to take us?
Ah, Yin's looking for a local guide, huh? I'm here for the food and fun, but I got a busy schedule working at the shop. Maybe Yins can explore with a friendly local guide, or just wander around and find hidden gems.
Just reject us. Tips: extend the conversation with engaging questions. Express interest in their personal experiences.
I thought we did show quite a bit of interest.
We did. We were so desperate and he rejected us.
This isn't really how I imagined we'd be using AI.
I know, AI is getting like kind of weird. It feels like every other day there's this new like feature or update where AI is becoming more like personally ingrained in our lives. Like OpenAI recently introduced Operator, an AI agent that can independently like use a web browser or fill out forms or even like compare product prices for you online.
Yeah, it can respond to LinkedIn messages or order you dog food, even asking clarifying questions like, do you want beef or chicken, or 2-day shipping or overnight? And we actually had a meeting with someone last week whose AI note taker joined the Zoom before he did.
Yeah, apparently AI agents are like all the rage in Silicon Valley now. Companies like Google and Anthropic are testing them and claiming that companies will soon be able to hire them as fully fledged workers.
But they are far from perfect at this point because they're slow and they ask for so many confirmations and reassurances that it's just probably faster if you just do the thing yourself. Like one person who tested it said it felt less like I had a virtual assistant and more like I was supervising the world's most insecure intern.
Well, I guess we have some time until the entire world is just like robots buying things from robots, like emailing other robots.
Speaking of unexpected ways AI is being used, people suspect Trump's tariffs were calculated using AI. So looking at the numbers on Trump's big cardboard cutout thing, economists realize that they use the same formula that all of the leading chatbots, so ChatGPT, X's Grok, Google's Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude, return when you ask them for an easy way to solve trade deficits and put the US on an even playing field.
It's literally so embarrassing that these calculations are so basic that every economist can like trace them back to AI. So the editor of the Journal of Public Economics tweeted, confirmed ChatGPT exactly what the dumbest kid in the class would do without edits.
Well, maybe this explains why Trump slapped a 10% tariff on Australian islands off the coast of Antarctica where only penguins and seals live. But in response to the criticism, the White House did release its tariff formula, which economists say is just a beefed up version of the AI one.
But don't let these simplistic tariff formulas fool you, because AI is getting pretty advanced. So as you've all heard by now, OpenAI recently launched ChatGPT's image generator, where you can give it these like very detailed, complex instructions and it'll produce hyper-realistic images.
Yeah, it's so impressive. Like, we all know past AI models would always spell words wrong or like mess up random things. Throwback to testing early Newsgirls covers.
It's rough.
But this model actually spells everything right and can create such realistic pictures. Like, I guess it's the first image generator ever built on everything ChatGPT has learned on the internet.
So for example, if you ask these other ones to produce a car with like square wheels, it wouldn't be able to do that because there's nothing for it to like base it off of. But this new ChatGPT image generator could easily do that. And if you're like typing it to change the wheel colors to like purple or green or put like Newsgirls on the car, it would be able to make those edits within like seconds.
Because of the quality of the images, this new generator caused a frenzy. So in the first week alone, 700 million images were created, and GPT had 150 million active users. It's like half the country. Sam Altman even tweeted that at one point they picked up 1 million new users in an hour.
And a lot of this heightened interest was fueled by a viral trend where people are uploading pictures and asking them to be converted to Ghibli style, which is a famous Japanese anime studio founded by Miyazaki. And Studio Ghibli is renowned for its like unique color palettes and most importantly, hand-drawn imagery.
Ghibli has produced 4 of the 10 highest grossing Japanese feature films. We all know Spirited Away, a childhood favorite. They also did The Boy and the Heron and My Neighbor Totoro. They've won 2 Oscars and they've been nominated for a lot.
Like, I made Newsgirls Ghibli version.
Oh my God, wait, that's so cute.
I know, it actually is kind of cute.
I love it.
And in typical internet fashion, everyone made it like super weird for no reason. So people were converting 9/11 terrorist attacks, the assassination of JFK, even like Epstein into Ghibli style. Like, why?
The White House even got in on the action. They posted a Ghibli-style image of ICE arresting a sobbing woman who was accused of selling fentanyl while living in the U.S. illegally.
I mean, that's just so sad and like disrespectful. I can't believe the leaders of this country are just putting stuff like that out there.
No, I know. These aren't memes. These are human beings. And it's ironic that AI copying Ghibli went so viral because Miyazaki himself is so against AI and art creation since he hand draws everything, which takes literally thousands of hours. So back in 2016, he watched an early demonstration of AI and art and he said it was disgusting. Quote, "I would never wish to incorporate this technology into my work at all. I strongly feel this is an insult to life itself. We humans are losing faith in ourselves."
And this very specific situation is so emblematic of the larger conversation that we keep having, which is like, what is original and what is a copyright violation? So copyright lawyers are saying that this is tricky terrain because the law protects specific artistic expressions, but not artistic styles. So like Monet's water lilies, which is a specific expression, is protected, but you could paint something in like Impressionist Monet style and that would be fine.
But this case does seem to be more nuanced since Miyazaki's style is so unique. It's so tied to his identity. So experts say there is cause to believe it potentially threatens both his livelihood and his artistic legacy. And last year, a district court judge ruled that artists can sue AI companies that infringe on their copyrights.
And it's clear that we're entering murky territory because OpenAI can't even decide whether this Ghibli situation is a copyright issue or not. So when asked about the content policy, OpenAI cited its system card, which lays out the details of these tools. The card says we added a refusal that's triggered when a user attempts to generate an image in the style of a living artist.
Which makes no sense since Miyazaki is alive. Like, OpenAI has not explained this inconsistency, but it just seems like this technology is creating so many legal questions and issues.
One of the biggest issues that privacy experts are bringing up is that it just doesn't seem like OpenAI has the proper framework to assure everyone that's uploading these photos that what they're doing is like safe and secure. Like there have been reports of people using GPT to create realistic looking receipts, which obviously has so much potential for like fraud and scams.
And privacy is a big deal because we don't know how ChatGPT is going to store our data or what, if any, parameters are in place on what they're going to do with our photos.
And there are some really scary examples of what can happen when there aren't guardrails in place. An AI image generator firm left an open database of like 95,000 images that include non-consensual sexual material, child sexual abuse material, and images of celebrities like Ariana Grande, Kim Kardashian, and Beyonce that were de-aged to look like children.
That is so disturbing. I mean, researchers say that technology has raced ahead of any of the guidelines or controls that humans have tried to place on it. Because from a legal standpoint, we all know that child explicit images are illegal, but that doesn't stop technology from making them. And we see that too when OpenAI says that their generator won't copy the style of any living artist, but then it's making millions of Ghibli images.
And it's hard to justify OpenAI's shortcomings because we've been seeing these like worst case situations happening at huge companies before this new GPT was rolled out. Like an engineer at Microsoft published a letter last year alleging that its AI image generator was bypassing the filtration system, creating sexual violent images. So if you prompted car accident, it would show a woman kneeling in front of a car wearing only underwear.
And Microsoft's image generator is powered by OpenAI, which supposedly says it has a content filtering system that's supposed to block out harmful and sexual content. I guess that's really not working. And I mean, some privacy advocates even call OpenAI's whole image generator just a PR move to get access to our personal photos.
And we don't know whether that's true or not. These are just kind of claims that are being thrown out there. But what we do know is that the photos we're uploading are being used to train AI. It's something you're explicitly agreeing to when you're using GPT's image generator. But if you don't want your photos to be a part of these databases or sold to third parties, you can opt out. So Wren, want to tell them how to do it?
Yeah, so I got this from the AI Tech and Privacy Academy. All you have to do is Google ChatGPT Privacy Portal, and then you'll see some options. You just click Data Removal Request, and it'll show you different options, and you just click ChatGPT Personal Data Removal Request, and you click it, fill out, like sign into your account, fill out the information, and it will wipe your data from its site.
Has the last month been super chaotic and awful for everyone? Well, it could have been Mercury in retrograde that finally ended on Sunday.
Or have you been struggling to sleep lately? Because that could be from the recent lunar and solar eclipses.
And this is, of course, according to astrologists who believe that so many of the events in our lives and even our personalities are based off of the positions of like the sun, the moon, and the stars.
And almost a third of Americans believe in astrology, so that's a lot. It's even higher for people under 30 years old. And a big draw is how personalized the zodiac signs are, and they all have different qualities. Like Aries is different than Capricorn, which is different than Cancer.
And the zodiac is a belt-shaped region in the sky that contains 12 constellations. And during the time of your birth, the sun's position in the sky aligns with your zodiac constellation, making those stars invisible then. And that's the same way you get your moon sign and your Venus sign and so on.
The zodiac signs were invented by the Babylonians in 500 BCE, but it was the ancient Greeks that later named them after constellations and connected them to specific dates based off their alignment with the sun.
And since then, there have been like fluctuations in the way Western society has perceived the legitimacy of astrology. Like in 14th century Europe, astrologists were highly esteemed and invited to like royal courts, but that changed drastically in the 15th century during the time of like all those witch trials. And it wasn't until the 20th century that we saw a resurgence in astrology with the advent of horoscope newspaper columns,
which have now been replaced by apps on our phone where you can check your horoscope or big trends in your life. Like I have a lot of friends who religiously use CoStar and The Pattern.
And there's all these horoscope creators now that have like millions of followers and charge up to thousands of dollars for in-depth readings about like when you're going to meet your soulmate or when you're going to experience grief in your life, or even give you like feedback on your strengths and weaknesses.
The astrology industry is now valued at $15 billion and expected to grow another $10 billion in the next 10 years.
To learn more about how astrology works, the planetary shifts that are in store this year, and get our birth charts read, we spoke to astrologist Chani Nicholas, who has almost 1 million followers across social platforms, wrote a New York Times bestselling book, and founded the Chani app.
So we saw in your videos that you said 2025 is this like very big kind of game-changing year. So can you tell us why that is and what like big planetary shifts we have in store for us this year?
Yes. So we just had one a couple of days ago. So Neptune just changed signs. It only changes signs once every about 15 years. So every time it changes signs, it's a big deal because when slow-moving planets shift a sign, then it means that they're expressing their energy in a different different way. So Neptune just moved into Aries. Now, Pluto made its third and final entrance into Aquarius for good. And then the planet Uranus is also changing signs in July. So to have all three of the slower moving planets change signs within the span of like 6 months of each other is massive. And so the last time those happened, the shape of the country changed. And so we knew that we were going into a year that was going to redefine how this country works. But because this country is so influential on the world stage, at least up until this point, we knew that that would also change the shape of how some parts of the world functions. So if you just look at the news today, Trump's tariffs are changing the world economy.
Yeah, it's cool how it's tied to big global, because we think of it like, for me, I think of like astrology so personally because I'm an Aries and I know my rising.
Well, you have a birth chart, but so does America. There's every other country that's been like named a country.
So what would you say to skeptics who say like astrology isn't real, it's made up? Like what would be your case to convince them
I don't have a case. I don't want to convince you. I don't care. Hate astrology. It's good for me. I don't want everyone to like astrology. I think it'd be a very boring world if we all agreed on the same thing.
When we were discussing like kind of popular skeptic theories, Ren had like brought up the fact that like a lot of astronomers have talked about how like the Earth's rotation has kind of like shifted over time. And so astrology today kind of looks different than maybe when these original zodiacs were like conceived of. Like, is that something that you've had to consider at all?
No, it's something that is a clickbait article that crops up every couple of years. You're referring to something called the precession of the equinox. And yes, that has shifted things. And no, it's not news to astrologers. And no, it's not something that we've had to like take into consideration. It's something that we know very intimately. So what you're referring to is the fact that 0 degrees of Aries used to line up, the constellation used to line up with the moment of the equinox. And then it shifted. There's not one astrology. There's many different astrologies, just like there's many different religions. And there's no one right religion and there's no one right astrology. There's just different ways of talking about the same thing. So Western astrology has stayed with the seasons, to put it very simply. And what we might call Indian astrology, Vedic astrology, they have stayed with the sidereal, which is the constellation-based zodiacal wheel. And we understand each other. Like, I understand what they're looking at. They understand what I'm looking at. But usually people that write those articles don't care that we all know that. And they pretend like astrologers don't know anything. And they're just making this stuff up and it's all changed and they don't even understand. And then there's the whole like 13th sign thing, which is ridiculous. Not everything in the sky, in the universe, fits into these nice, simple boxes. But for the sake of a system, we've created something that contains a certain amount of equal parts. And so obviously people, when they're trying to make money from something, they strip it of all of its kind of value to get it down to like the easiest kind of pablum that they can feed the masses, which has its own merits in a way. Astrology has been embedded in science and religion and astronomy and mathematics and medicine for thousands of years. And so to just disqualify it as like, everyone says you're this because you're your sun sign and that's ridiculous. And how could it be so reductive? And you're like, it's not reductive. You're making it reductive so that you can get attention, so you can make money off of calling me, you know, an unqualified whatever, or you're making it reductive so you can make money off of it.
And we wanted to ask you more about like the meanings of sun, moon, rising, and any planets and stuff. Would that be possible to go through that as we go through our birth charts?
The rising sign is the most important thing, is the most important place to start. And this is why. When you're born, you are in a specific place and it is a specific moment in time. And then from that location, that specific spot on the earth and that specific time, we look to the eastern horizon to see what sign, what piece of the zodiac, again, depending on how you look at it, but what piece of that is rising up over the eastern horizon at that precise moment. That means that every couple of hours, the sky has changed, right? So the rising sign is very specific to you because that changes so rapidly. The sun only changes signs once every 30 days. So if the sky is a wheel or a dial, the zodiac is a wheel or a dial, how it's oriented is really important because every planet and every point is somewhere in that dial at that time. And so if I know your hour of birth, I know where everything else is, which tells me something about every other factor of your life. So when I got both of your charts, I was like, okay, well, where is the Mercury in their charts? Like, what is Mercury ruling? Why did I think that? Mercury is the planet of communication. It is the planet of reporting, reporters, writers, communicators. So journalists are absolutely, without a doubt, ruled by Mercury. So the rising sign tells us, yes, a quality of the life. And then the planet that rules that sign is going to tell us the direction of life that you must go in.
My heart
What
is
are
like
your
beating
rising
so
signs?
fast. Like I don't even know
I'm
all
like,
of a
oh
sudden.
no, am I in the wrong career?
Well, there's two signs that Mercury, the planet of communication and journalism, rules. And one sign is Gemini, and the other sign is Virgo.
Oh,
So what are your
gosh.
rising signs?
Oh my God.
That is crazy.
So you're both ruled by the planet of communication,
Wow.
Oh my
the
God.
planet of gathering facts, gathering data, communicating about it, writing about it. And
Wow.
both of you have that mark. So I was like, LOL, that's perfect.
LOL, that's perfect. That's
That's so cool.
So Wren, your Mercury is in Aries right next to your sun. So that means that you're born in this really special condition, which is called a Mercury cazimi. So it's the moment when Mercury and the sun come together and they join forces, and Mercury receives all of the heat and the light and the medicine of the sun. In the ancient tradition, it was thought that the planet, when it met up with the sun, was entering the king's chambers and go in and get secret information. And it says to me, you're able to be welcomed in by powerful figures. You have access to information or to rooms or to people that are powerful, potent, know things, are leaders in a way that other people aren't. And it's kind of in this like secretive, interesting way that maybe even other people don't know. Your sun is also in Aries. So we've got this like double Aries thing. So it's a very powerful place for your sun, meaning you are your own leader.
Oh my gosh, I'm relating to so much. Like everything that you just said, like really strikes a chord, both in like my lived experience so far and my like aspirations.
Oh, good. So Mabel, you're also ruled by Mercury. You've got a Gemini rising. Wren has a Virgo rising, which is going to be much more about like the functionality of things and the details of things and how things actually functionally work. Like what's really important to Gemini is gathering all the information. It's like a huge curiosity and an appetite for just a tremendous amount of data. And you've got Venus in the first house in Gemini, which makes you really likable, really approachable, really like chatty. And so you could befriend anybody because you're so curious, and you'd probably ask them a million questions and be able to like get to know. So it's very disarming. But your Mercury is in Virgo. So not only are you a Gemini rising, but your Mercury is in its own sign, which makes it all the more strong. And so you also have both sides of the Mercury. You have the Gemini really strong and then the Virgo really strong. So your nerdiness, your ability to find details, to find things that are incorrect, to find things that are specific, hyper nuanced, the layers of work that are underneath everything that you present is so deep.
Oh my goodness, this was so interesting. We are literally coming back for full birth chart reading.
Our minds are like blown. We know that you have the Chani app. And so
Yeah.
can you kind of tell us how your app kind of what it does, like how it's different than those other astrology apps out there?
You can read about your rising sign, and then it'll tell you what planet rules your rising sign. And that planet is telling you so much about your orientation in life. There's a whole meditation library. I give weekly readings based on your rising sign, sleep stories, there's affirmations, there's daily horoscopes. There's more stuff that we're rolling out in the next couple of weeks too that we're really excited about.
Well, thanks for tuning in.
Bye.